Good morning, dear friends. We're kicking off our Highland stream. Heading to Scotland, we've got loads of beautiful places ahead of us. We're already on board the plane, gearing up for takeoff, and it's going to be awesome. Our journey starts in the city of Inverness, the northernmost city in Scotland. Then we'll head south, passing the famous Loch Ness, meet the ancient and highly respected Loch Ness Monster, who'll grant us permission to ascend Ben Nevis. Wrapping up our trip in Glasgow, Scotland's second most significant city, before heading back to London. Alright folks, let's keep the stream flowing. We're already in Inverness, the north of Scotland. We've picked our companions and guides for Scotland, so now we can head to the mountains with a clear conscience, knowing we won't get lost. Inverness, the northernmost of Scotland's cities, founded over 1,000 years ago, has been tightly woven into Scotland's rich history for centuries. Its name comes from a Gaelic word meaning mouth of the River Ness. The River Ness has always played a vital role in the city's life, acting as both a trade artery and a natural barrier, providing protection against enemy invasions. Just a short walk from the city, about 15 minutes away, there's an interesting spot. It's where the River Ness flows into the North Sea. From here, you get a fantastic view of Moray Firth Bay and the kilometre-long Kessop Bridge, connecting Inverness to the northern part of Scotland. The first day's wrapping up. How's it been for you?
Super.
Super. What's been the highlight for you?
Well, actually, the architecture here is pretty intriguing.
Это живой заяц.
Look at that, Julia found a rabbit. There it is. Venturing into restricted territory in search of rabbits. See there in the background, the search continues. With all the rodents sent home, we stayed to watch the evening in Inverness. The sun sets behind the mountains, and the city is enveloped in the twilight of a northern summer. We wandered the streets a bit more before heading off to rest. Tomorrow, we're going to see the famous Loch Ness and its mystical inhabitants. This is Loch Ness. It doesn't start as dramatically as the deepest lake in Scotland should. However, further south, the wild nature of the Scottish Highlands takes over. Created in a long rift between Inverness and our next stop, Fort William, the lake resembles a needle in shape, with a width of just about 1.5 kilometers. It's globally renowned for legends of the Loch Ness Monster an animal whose existence has been claimed by several local eyewitnesses in the past. Just look at that beauty.
Что, друзья? По дороге к горе Ben Nevis у нас на
Right, mates, on our way to Ben Nevis, we stumbled upon this Urquhart castle.
Urquhart?
Let's pop in and see what we've got here.
Сейчас будем смотреть, что здесь есть.
These are ruins with a stunning view of Loch Ness. We'll be on the lookout for the monster.
Будем искать чудовище.
Maybe it's already here.
I'm already here. The monster.
Оно уже здесь. В данном замке,
This castle bears a symbol that's lived here since its foundation.
который живет здесь с самого его основания.
Please tell us how you're adapting to modern realities.
Адаптация к современным реалиям.
I was brought to the castle long before the Loch Ness monster, surviving as best I could, trying not to turn into a vegetable. Then came the diverse tribes. I drowned my sorrow with booze, observing their wild business.
Thanks. Well, I reckon you've got the gist of it. Heard it all yourselves.
Ну что?
All right then, we finally arrived. Behind me lies our main goal, Ben Nevis, the highest mountain in Britain, which we'll be attempting to conquer tomorrow. Hopefully the weather holds up. The little town of Fort William sits at the picturesque confluence of two lakes, Loch Eel and Loch Lynn. Like an oasis in the desert, Fort William is the last inhabited place on the way to Ben Nevis, the coveted destination for many travelers. We strolled down the main street, popped into one of the local pubs for dinner, and caught in the beginning rain. Crossed the River Nevis to return to our cozy hotel. Tomorrow morning, we face the tough ascent up the mountain. Oh, all right, folks. The day has arrived. Today, we're climbing Ben Nevis. We'll be tackling 1,300 meters in height. We've got around 17 kilometers to cover up and down. The whole hike should take us about 7 hours. It's already morning, 7 a.m., and we're about to start gearing up, gathering ourselves and heading up to the summit.
Соберемся и пойдем вверх, на вершину.
This isn't even the climb yet.
And we're already knackered.
We're already out of breath.
So, what's your impression of the start of our route?
Barely made it up, barely made it down.
You mean the bed barely made it out of bed? But we're just getting started. Ben Nevis is not only the highest mountain in the Scottish Highlands, but also in all the British Isles. Its peak sits at an elevation of 1,345 meters above sea level. The hiking trail up skirts around Lower Peak, passing by halfway Lochan and Redburn Waterfall. Our goal is to complete the entire route to the summit and back, returning with the sunset. Halfway along, at an altitude of 570 meters, lies the mountain lake, halfway Lochan. This scenic spot is perfect for a break, to recharge before tackling the remaining 700 meters to the peak. After a rest, we set off towards Redburn Waterfall. We had about half an hour left to the summit when suddenly the sky began to cloud over. In an instant, everything around us was enveloped in grey mist, reminiscent of scenes from mystical movies. Rare figures of people in the mist looked like ghosts. So the final 10 minutes to the mountain, and we found ourselves in a very cinematic atmosphere. It turns out Christopher Nolan is shooting his new film here, but I won't tell you anything because it's a secret and I've been paid not to disclose it. So we're moving on and soon we'll see you at the summit. Friends, we're at the summit. 6.5 or 7 hours, someone's shouting in the background. 6.5 or 7 hours of ascent, several thousand breaks and 2 sandwiches that saved our lives. And now we're at the top, we've made it. 1345 meters, and this is the highest point in Britain. The beginning is made. Now we just have to spend 8 hours descending. You can hear victorious shouts in the background. We did it. The feeling is incredible because essentially you've climbed where not every person, not even every Scot, has conquered such a peak. But here we are, we bold lads.
All good.
After a bit of rest and thoroughly freezing, we began our descent from Ben Nevis. The next morning we indulged in Scottish delicacies at a rather hospitable cafe, and taking a final stroll down the main street, made our way to the station. It was time to bid farewell to Fort William, a town that, for me personally, appeared as a remarkable blend of Scottish life, majestic nature, and simple, open friendliness of the locals. Passing hills and lakes on a fast-moving train through a succession of rains, we approached Glasgow. Glasgow, Scotland's largest city and its cultural capital, it's a city of contrasts and cultural richness. The heart of Scotland beats here with the vibrant energy of modernity, the coziness of old streets, and the grandeur of centuries-old buildings. There's no longer the tranquility and leisureliness that we observed earlier. We started our acquaintance with the city in the local subway, consisting of two circular lines going in different directions. On the day of our arrival in Glasgow, there was an international cycling championship. As expected, the centre was closed off, so instead of strolling around, we watched the event from a VIP area. It was a better view than on TV. We had very little time left before our bus to London. We took a walk along the quay, admired the beautiful, albeit somewhat strange, works of street artists, and took a few photos for memory's sake. the rain started, so we spent the rest of the evening indoors, enjoying dinner and reflecting on our trip. Well, friends, our journey has come to an end. We've traveled 800,000 km, climbed a massive mountain, captured it all on video, and now we're waiting for our bus to London. During this time, we celebrated my birthday, learned Gaelic. For example, I can now communicate with Scots and understand what they're saying. What about you? What's your lasting memory of this trip?
Ben Nevis.
Ben Nevis, yes. And loads of brides walking around here, so joyful.
Actually, I like the small towns more, even more than the big city, Glasgow. There's a different atmosphere there, so cozy, quiet and peaceful.
And the people there are friendly.
After London, it's just what you need.
Well, anyway, we're heading back home, editing this video, so stay tuned for our new adventures. That's it. See you all later. We're here at Loch Ness. Maybe we'll see the monster, the famous Loch Ness monster. Julia, I think I hear it.
Is it crying there?
There it is. I see it. Look, there it is. There it is.